I begged them. I drove there. I wrote to them. I literally was hysterically crying, begging them to get my brother help. And in the end, I got, I'm sorry. I'm Eileen Echeverria. My brother was Robert Echeverria, the 9th NYPD officer to commit suicide this year.
Yet another officer dies by suicide.
The second leading NYPD official had shot himself in as many days.
The department's 5th officer to die by suicide.
The 7th within the department since the beginning of June.
The department's 10th suicide this year.
Between 3 and 6 active-duty NYPD officers have died by suicide every year for the last 3 years. But in 2019, that number doubled. The rash of suicides in the NYPD has tormented the department. Police officers around the country are now more likely to die by suicide than in the line of duty. But what causes the problem, and further, what to do about it, remains unanswered.
He always wanted to be a cop. He really loved that job in the beginning.
When did you first start to notice a difference in your brother?
In 2012, he was having a lot of issues. That was the first time I contacted IAB, and I noticed he was different.
IAB stands for the NYPD's Internal Affairs Bureau, with whom Eileen would go on to communicate with regularly as her brother's behavior got worse.
And then this year, in March, when he brought me his son to take care of, I saw my brother crying, and I was like, Bobby. He's like, I feel like I'm failing at life. And I said, Bobby, why? You're not failing at life. You have a difficult situation. You have a difficult job. It's okay. And then, sorry. And then things started to unravel. In June, I noticed my brother was completely gone. He called me, and he said to me, I'm going to kill myself. And I said, Bobby, no. I said, Bobby, please, just talk to me. Don't do this to our mother. Don't do it to me. And most of all, don't do it to children.
Eileen says she's reached out to IAB and told them everything about Bobby's struggles, his finances, his marriage. She put it all in an email.
Once they got the email, they call you within 10 minutes. IAB called me. We're raiding his house tonight. We're going to take all his guns. I go, thank you. I want you to get him help. Within days, I get a call from a lieutenant. I was at work. I remember crying. My coworkers were like, what's the matter? I said, they gave my brother his guns back. I go, how could they have done an evaluation that quickly? When I hung up with that lieutenant, I said to him, when my brother kills himself, I hope you're there, because the blood's on you.
Bobby Echeverria died on August 14th by self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He left 2 kids, a wife, a sister, and multiple communities, each with their own perspective on what a solution might be. I sat down with Inspector WACHTER, the head of the NYPD's new mental health and wellness section.
One suicide is horrific for this department. It's a tragedy, and that's why we're trying to come up with new programs to kind of stem this tide.
The NYPD has implemented a series of reforms in the last several months, including establishing a new peer-to-peer counseling service.
When you talk about some of the peer support programs within the NYPD, how are those different from the newly formed peer support program that is taking volunteers and is training NYPD officers right now?
This new peer to support program we're starting is similar to the neighborhood policing philosophy, where we're putting officers and civilians in each command, and they're going through a very extensive 3-day course where we're teaching them the warning signs of stress, depression, suicides.
DINA and Mike are both officers in the program. They're on the front lines of this new effort. Day to day, they work in separate units, but both just completed 3 days of training to become peer advocates.
After I graduated, there was a guy in my company who I went through the academy with who we lost to suicide. It just made me as a person want to get involved and do something, especially with the rash of suicides that unfortunately happened over the summer.
There is a lot of stress that a police officer goes through on a regular basis. And they should know that it's okay to talk about what they're feeling, what they're going through, and they don't have to go through it alone. The hardest part is going to be to fight the stigma. I just want the officers to understand that we're not looking to give out disciplinary action. This is solely to help them and to help them get better.
Richard Levenson is a psychologist who has worked with law enforcement for over 20 years. He says this stigma comes from a fear of having their badge, gun, and arguably their identity taken away.
In the old days, they referred to a police officer who had mental health issues as being a member of the rubber gun squad. They literally took their shield and their gun away from them, and they gave them a rubber gun in the early days. And that's the identity of any officer. I mean, if someone says to you, I'm a police officer, you say, well, prove it. First thing they do is take out their shields. The public acknowledges a shield as a symbol of authority.
Do you think that officers are more likely to seek that mental health help from a colleague, a peer, rather than outside help?
I think that the answer to that is yes, but I also think that they have to perceive that someone in their environment is approachable.
How do you reassure your colleagues that the help that they are getting is confidential, that they can speak, knowing that it's not going anywhere else?
I'm not going and telling anyone. I'm telling their partner. I'm not telling the executives, the sergeant. It's staying between us two.
Still, the peer support has yet to deliver answers on the why. And yet, more families than ever this year are left behind, still searching for answers.
I'm trying to work with them and say, listen, we need to do something. I had a meeting with the NYPD at one police plaza. I buried my brother 2 days before that, and they were downright nasty to me. When I called them out on how many people have reached out to me, how many letters I've gotten from wives, from officers still on the job that have begged me. I said to them, I will never betray you. I will never say your name, not your first name, not your last name, not your initials. That they need help. They need a lot of programs. A phone number, a peer advocate, not gonna work. They tell me it's working. Really? I buried my brother 2 days ago. How well is it working?
The NYPD would not comment directly on Eileen's claims about her brother's case. We also tried reaching out to Officer Echeverria's wife and did not hear back.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.